So yeah, my name's Victoria Sinis. I'll just introduce a little bit about myself and then kind of jump into everything. But I'm 27 years old and I've come all the way from Melbourne, Australia to be able to share with you guys. I actually landed last night at 11 p.m. I know, and it was like 30 hours of flying. It was the craziest flight path I've ever been on. So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, so we're here today and a little bit about my background and I guess just some fun facts about me. I am a first generation Australian. So my mother was actually born in Manchester in England, so I'm half English. And then my father was actually born in Greece in a tiny little town 3 hours outside of Athens called Nafpakto. And so I grew up with them and my two older brothers. And I had a really beautiful life growing up, and I really have always been obsessed with business. That's my thing, and this will make a lot of sense for kind of where I end up and a lot of my story. And we're going to deep dive into my testimony actually on Friday night. So this today and then the workshop is really just kind of explaining to you guys what's happening online, what do we need to know as a culture, the realities of one of the biggest industries that's in the world right now. But yeah, loved business, specifically startups. That was my jam, building businesses. And so that's how I got into the world that I got into. And so we're going to kind of jump right into OnlyFans. So Michael obviously kind of mentioned OnlyFans, but I just want to put your hand up here if you've heard of OnlyFans. Fantastic. Now, keep your hand raised if you confidently can tell me what OnlyFans is. Okay, I want people just spitting out stuff. What is OnlyFans? Amazing. What type of content? Okay, amazing. Anyone else? I feel like you want to say, anyone, go for it. Yep. Beautiful. Cool. So that's, I guess, and my other question is, do you think that if you're on OnlyFans, you make a lot of money? Okay, amazing. I love this. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we have a loose idea and then we have absolutely no. So that's fantastic. So OnlyFans. Yep, OnlyFans. So OnlyFans is the new iteration of pornography. So it's the new way in how people are consuming porn. And so why this is now turned into one of the biggest industries in the world, and for my generation is one of the most desired jobs that a woman can have, is because it's now, for the first time ever, women are being encouraged to become porn stars. It's now a legitimate career path, and a lot of women and young girls are being encouraged and coerced. Don't go to school. Why do you need that job? You can just do OnlyFans. Do you want to be rich? Do you want to be famous? Do you want to have an amazing life? Well, come do OnlyFans and all your dreams will be fulfilled. So this session specifically, we're going to exactly dive into what is OnlyFans, because it's this huge phenomenon that either you've not heard of at all, or everyone's kind of heard of it, but they don't really know what it is. But for some statistics for you, just to kind of deep dive into the magnitude of what OnlyFans is and why it matters. Forgive me, I am a little tired, so I'm going to read them out so I make sure that they're not wrong. But here are some of the main statistics on OnlyFans. So on OnlyFans, 89.5% of users are married. And I just want to, what the gentleman Walter was talking about before, about the destructions of families and the destruction of the marriage unit, of words being manipulated and of identity being challenged, this is the exact same thing, it's just in a different form. So there was, out of 2025, 3.5 million creators on OnlyFans. That means that there's 3.5 million predominantly women creating porn on OnlyFans currently. As well as that, there was 66 million, my brain just malfunctioned there, 66 million fans on there, so subscribers. So think about the magnitude of that. There's 66 million people that are currently subscribed to a porn platform that are consuming it, with 89% of its members being married. So what is that doing culturally? There's no age verification either. So you can be a 10-year-old child and sign up and consume OnlyFans. And then, as well as that, age verification to be an OnlyFans creator is like, you need an ID. They don't check the ID, so you can literally be an underage girl, and we're going to talk about that as well this week, and sign up and do OnlyFans. And so they're probably just some of the main ones that I want to get to you guys right now, just to understand how huge this is in our generation. So what is OnlyFans? Now we've kind of learned a little bit about the magnitude of it. So OnlyFans actually was started back in 2017, and I think the context is really interesting and needed. So compared to Instagram, Facebook, which was kind of around back then, it was really hard for people to start to build platforms and build connection. So the original intent of OnlyFans was, how do we decentralize social media and create these little micro communities? So I could be someone that goes, well, I love baking, so I'm going to sign up to OnlyFans and I'm going to have a paid channel. So it's locked content behind a paywall, and people can come and subscribe to my channel, and they're going to have to pay for me to teach them about recipes. And the main allure is that I can sit there and directly message my subscribers. So if I'm posting on my OnlyFans all these different recipes, right? You can message me and be like, Vic, well, how did you make this? Or what did you do here? And we can directly communicate. So it's a lot easier of a way to be able to build community and to be able to create a service for people than Facebook and Instagram, right? So OnlyFans, though, has this thing called not safe for work content. So in, I guess, the digital world, not safe for work content is the fluffy way of saying porn. So I've seen now statistics that say anywhere from 80 to 95% of all content on OnlyFans is not safe for work content. So that was the original intent. But then I've also found out that in the early days, OnlyFans was going to porn conventions. It was paying porn stars $100 to sign up to OnlyFans. One of my friends was in the porn industry, and literally she's like, yeah, I got paid $100 to like sign up to OnlyFans, like when I was at a porn convention. So we can see that even in the beginning, it might have had like wholesome intentions, but it's always had an agenda to be a sexualized platform. And so we come into 2020, and that's where OnlyFans blew up. And so it became this mainstream platform. I think it's in like the top 10 of like most searched websites in the world. Like, it's huge. And so in 2020, obviously what was happening, everyone was in lockdown. So we're isolated, people's stressed about finances. So what are we going to do? Well, I might as well just jump onto OnlyFans, and I might as well just sell a bunch of pictures and make a bunch of money. And so that's where we really see it blow up. A lot of major celebrities came onto OnlyFans as well. So very mainstream ones. Iggy Azalea, if you have heard of her. Cardi B was on there. The bad Barbie girl, the one who's like Catch Me Outside, if you know her. But these are really significant cultural players in my generation. And why that matters and is important, because who are the role models for our young women and our little girls? Who are they looking up to? Looking up to these celebrities that are all jumping on OnlyFans talking about how much money they make. And so this is a little bit of, I guess, the history and the timeline of what OnlyFans is. And so what we have to understand is, okay, well, why does this matter? Well, what my role was and what my job was is I actually got involved in this thing called an OnlyFans agency. So my role was to make girls rich on OnlyFans. That's basically the simplicity of it. If you think of what a pimp was and think of what a traditional pimp on the street is, take all of those concepts, make it digital, and that was my job. So my role was to recruit girls, was to then maximize their earning potential on their accounts. So my role was to make girls go as viral as possible, to be able to pull and lure men in to OnlyFans, and we would take a percentage of everything that they earned. So I actually have the first-hand experience of understanding the magnitude of what we were doing, and I actually helped to build one of the biggest OnlyFans agencies in Australia. So it makes sense, as I told you a little bit ago, about how I was obsessed with building businesses, as to kind of how I ended up there. And why that's significant and it matters is because my lens, when I said yes to this, well, helping to build this business, as I was like, oh, I've heard of it. I don't know. I think it can make you rich. I think that you just have to like sell some feet pics on there. Like, I think it's positive, it's empowering, it's liberating. You know, it takes the exploiter out of the picture. Like, why wouldn't we encourage women to do this? And so that's a huge stigma and a huge lens that people have. Even now, as I'm in activism world, a lot of people are like, well, yeah, OnlyFans is all right. This isn't bad. Like, this is a better option for women than for them to go out and exploit themselves. And so we're going to really deep dive into our session on Friday into understanding like the three main elements of OnlyFans agencies. I actually have like a worksheet for you guys, just so we can, again, kind of absorb a lot of this information because it is new information. But the thing is, this is everywhere. If you have a phone, you're probably being impacted by OnlyFans, and it's because of the magnitude of how huge this is. So we'll really deep dive into that and kind of pull on those threads on Friday. But basically, one of my main roles when I worked for an OnlyFans agency was marketing. So to make girls go as viral as possible, as quickly as possible. And so if we think about this with like a business brain on, if you have a platform like OnlyFans, which now we understand is a porn platform. The whole allure is relationships, and we're going to talk about that as well from the statistic of majority of men are married on a porn platform that literally encourages building relationships. But we can go, okay, so I've come into this industry. My role is to make girls go as viral as possible, as quickly as possible. Again, business brain on. You can't promote on OnlyFans. So what do you have to do? You have to outsource that. You have to be able to pull people in to the platform so then you can make money off it. So how do you promote people? What is the best marketing tool that we have in our world right now? Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, at the time, Twitter. So where are you going to promote all of these women's porn platforms? You're going to do it on social media. And so that was my role. And so what we would do is we actually hired experts that would study algorithms, and they would study what is trending at the moment, what is trending hashtags, trending songs, trending everything you can think of. And they would curate these perfect videos, and then we would send them to our girls, and we would get our girls to recreate these videos. And so you're getting literally girls to have like 3 to 5 TikTok accounts and post on each of these individual platforms, 5 unique videos per account. So can you imagine if every single day one agency in Australia is getting one girl to post 20 unique videos on one platform of hyper-sexualized content that is manipulated to go viral? And it's suggestive, it has innuendos, you're not posting full, nudity or anything like that. And we literally had one girl on like a brand new fresh TikTok account go from like 0 views, and in 7 days on one video, she had 2.2 million views. And so what is this doing culturally, right? Because again, what's this about? Sexual integrity, we're talking about identity, we're talking about our value. Well, this is softly influencing a generation on a mass scale to go, well, that girl that I follow, oh, look at what she does. Look at how she gets rewarded. Look at all the likes. Look at all the follows. Look at the lifestyle that she gets to live. I want to be like that. I want to do that. But what we don't understand is that there's an entire underground industry that's manufacturing this. It's not legitimate. It's not real. And so it's soft manipulation, which is so much more effective. And I guess that we can kind of see that even when we were having these conversations about like trans and everything. If you tell someone something, that's hard manipulation, right? And it's not as effective. But if you can slowly suggest things to people of, oh, well, I like how many followers they got. I want to get that many followers. Do you want to live like that? Are you really a girl? Is that how you feel? You can see how these whispers and this soft influence is the thing that plants the seeds within people to get them to go, oh, well, this is my decision. I made this, And so it's false consent because it's softly planting these lies within people. So what we now see is that we have an entire generation that idolizes OnlyFans girls. Literally, L'Oreal, which is one of the biggest makeup brands in the world, just signed an OnlyFans girl to do a marketing campaign for makeup that is literally designed for teenagers. And her name's Ari, and she's massive, huge, millions and millions of followers. And she promotes proudly of how she does OnlyFans and she's a mattress actress. And so what is that telling our young girls? Like, what dreams are they supposed to dream? What are they supposed to idolize? Because majority of women that we see in our culture are all being told, do you want to be successful? Do you want to make it? Do you want to travel? Do you want to have money? Well, go do OnlyFans. And that's the best way to be able to achieve your dreams. So literally go do porn, and that is the best way to be able to achieve your dreams. And I've literally had 15-year-olds sit in front of me and tell me that they believe that the best way that they can be happy and travel is to do OnlyFans. And so why as well this matters is we have this element. So now we're kind of understanding what OnlyFans is, the significance, the impact that it's having. And of course we can talk about the impact that it's having from like a sex worker perspective, but I'm really hoping that we can leave here today and go, this is affecting the everyday person. This is affecting your kids, your nieces, your nephews, your friends. I've had men in their 80s sit with me and tell me that they are still watching porn and struggle and see these things and are consumed by it. And so it's a multi-generational issue, but it's painted the same way as other conversations we've been having today, as this is who you are, this is the best that you can be, this is your identity, and you should be proud to do this. And so what's that doing? It's destroying people's identity. It's destroying their essence. I've had girls when I worked in the agency tell me that they hate doing this job and they don't want to do it anymore, and it gives them anxiety. And I'm like, okay, sweet. Well, why don't we get you involved in the agency? Why don't we get you involved in the business? And they say, no, Vic, because I can't do anything else. This is the only thing that I'm good at. And I have so many women that come up to me and tell me that the only thing that they think they're good at is being hot. The only thing that they think they're good at. I was literally in the nail salon before I came here, and I struck up a conversation with a girl back home in Australia. She's like 19. She goes, yeah, I would send naked photos of myself all the time to boys because I thought that's the only way they would like me and the only way I could get attention and the only reason, like, how I would matter and how I would get validation. And I was like, that is horrific. And so this is why it matters, because on a grand scale, yes, we have, 3.5 million content creators that are creating this content. But now we can understand that there's agencies. So how much more hypersexualized content is going out on the internet, and how much is it affecting our youth? I was in Georgia recently at the start of the year as well, and I speak at a lot of Christian conferences. Christian environments. And it was a youth camp in Georgia. And I did the thing that I did before of how many people have heard of OnlyFans. They kept their hands up. And then I did one called Bop House. And so out of curiosity, does anyone here know what the Bop House is or have heard of Bop House? Yeah, cool. What is it? Yeah, exactly. So Bop House is now this new phenomenon as well in our culture. And it's a girl named Sophie Rain, who's a Christian OnlyFans girl. And she's created this house in LA, and it's got millions and millions of followers. And she has all these other girls that join her, and they do childlike content to be able to lure in young girls, to be able to be like, hey, do you want to come be a bop girl? Do you want to come live this life? Do you want the house? Do you want the this? Well, come be a bop girl. And so I'm in Georgia, and I'm at this youth event, and it's a Christian youth event. And so how many people here have heard of the Bop House? And all these little girls put their hands up. Every single one. And I said, keep your hands up if you watch Bop House content. And all the little girls keep their hands up. And these are like 12 to 15-year-olds. And the parents are in the back, and they've not heard of Bop House. They have no idea what it is. So I'm explaining this to them, and I'm saying, this is what is influencing your children. And again, Sophie Rain is a Christian OnlyFans. She says that Jesus enjoys what she does, and she likes that he makes all this money. And so this is why, again, what is this softly influencing our next generation to think? What is this softly influencing our young girls to like and to be like? And I remember after that conference, and I explained, a lot more of my story and kind of this redemptive narrative and everything. This sweet girl came up to me after, and she was in tears, and she goes, I watched Bop House content, and I thought that that's how I had to be. And so I did things last summer with a boy that I didn't want to do because I thought that that's how I'd get him to like me. And how do you deal with the shame? How do you deal with the guilt? And I think that's something that so many of us can, resonate with and recognize, especially at a sexual integrity conference, of we're so lied and manipulated into believing that these are the things that we have to do to be liked and loved. And so now this sweet little 13-year-old girl is watching this OnlyFans sexualized bop house content, has gone and done something with a boy, and is in tears in front of me because she's just ruined in shame. And so it's I know I'm looking at all your faces. I'm like, I know it's heavy, but it's really important that we understand these things and we talk about these things, because this is huge. If you have one of these, you're being influenced by it. And so then for our young men, oh my gosh, the amount of sweet men that are struggling with pornography, that are struggling with lust, and especially in the church. There's as much sex happening in the church as there is in the world, guys. And we need to talk about these things. We have to stop thinking that these are taboo things, or even in Dr. Hamilton's session, talking about compassion and talking about love, and that we need to be open to having these conversations, because the amount of young men that are so destroyed, they tell me, oh my gosh, I just opened my phone and it's like my phone knows. It's like, yeah, it does, because there's an entire underground industry that knows how to manipulate these algorithms to target you. And they're so specific. And so in our next session, we'll kind of dive into a lot more of the social media side of things, and I'll give you a lot more of the logistics and everything like that, and we can do a lot more of a Q&A. But that's what's happening. There's an entire industry that is targeting our young men to be able to get them to consume porn. And the whole point of it is to take their money. That's it. All it's trying to do is literally hook men in, destroy their lives to make as much money off them as possible. And so our young men are literally so covered in shame, thinking that they're too far gone. They're I remember even at that same event in Georgia, I had a 13-year-old boy come up to me, and this sweet boy was literally shaking, crying, in tears, and he goes, at 13, he's like, I'm addicted to porn. And he's like, I'm too far gone. How's God ever going to forgive me? And I went, oh my gosh. And just watching the Lord though, just pray for him and just his countenance change and everything like that. And there were safe men there who were like, hey, we'll bring you along this journey. We'll be able to help you. We'll be able to guide you. I'm like, how many more of them is out there? And where does it start? It starts with the phone. It starts with this type of content. And they get curious about it. And we keep hearing that word. Even today, I keep hearing this curiosity is piqued. And I believe it's because of a lack of education. And so when we don't understand, when the church doesn't go, we have all the answers. We have all the answers. Why are our bodies made? Who made our bodies? Where do we come from? How do our bodies work? What is sex? Why do we have sex? What is marriage? Why do we have marriage? We have all the answers to all of this. But yet our children are still so left in the dark. I even remember this gentleman, what's your name? You. Yeah. Spencer. You had asked a question before about your nephew, and that he's 9 years old, and is 9 years old, too young to be having these conversations. And the reality is no, because if you think about even the ideology that is being bred to our children in kindergartens from 2 to 3 years old, this hypersexualized culture that we live in, even if you take it out of OnlyFans, just say, even though now we can see that it's in mainstream culture, if L'Oreal is now doing campaigns with OnlyFans girls, it's in our mainstream culture. But if you take it out of that, what about just basic advertisement that is hypersexualized? Everywhere we go, everywhere, our children are inundated with hypersexualized content. And so what is that doing? It's making them confused. It's making young girls think and believe that the only way that they can be liked and loved and rewarded is to be sexual. Our young men to think that that's a desirable woman and that's how a woman should be and act. So therefore, that's what I should pursue. And so it's what we need to be doing is actually having these conversations with our kids young. I, for a period of time, was actually going into schools and doing Christian sex ed. And that was one of the biggest things that we would talk about is the younger, the better. We had in a workshop, and it's basic things talking about puberty and talking about your body changing and that these are normal things. But as adults, we need to be whole and healed enough as well to not be ashamed, as you were speaking about this morning, to have these conversations with our young people. I have a 4-year-old little niece, and I just went and bought her a book, and it's about God and God's design for sex and where do babies come from, because she's not been in daycare, she's not been in kindergarten. She goes into kindergarten next year. And I said to my brother, hey, you don't know what other people's values are going to be. You don't know what other people are going to expose her to. She's 4, yes, but you need to be having these conversations, so let's sit down and talk about it. Yeah. Ooh, the book. I can tell you, I sent him a picture of it. Sorry, give me 1 second. It's called The Story of Me, Babies, Bodies, and a Very Good God. And it's ages 3 to 5, and it's got like an orange cover, if anyone wants it. Sorry. It's called The Story of Me. It's called Babies, Bodies, and a Very Good God. So that's an excellent book. Even for our young people, there's a book, if you have like maybe like 10 and down, it's called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. And so it literally talks about these things. It talks about sometimes you're going to be on your phone or you're going to be on the tablet or something, and something's going to pop up. And it might not make you feel very good. So imagine again, Spencer, your 9-year-old nephew is perhaps already has access to TikTok. If we now know how much hypersexualized content is on TikTok, that laws, because it's very strategic. So again, we'll talk about it more in our next session of what the actual content is that people are seeing. But so you have this little hypothetically 9-year-old boy who's on TikTok. They're seeing this hypersexualized content. It's making them feel a type of way they don't really understand, they don't really know. And so what is that doing within them? And so then they have questions. And so they might click on the link and then they click on the other link, because as well, agencies, of course, you're going to have very sophisticated funneling systems that you're putting people into, because you're not going to just post these random pictures and not let them end up anywhere, right? So you're this little 9-year-old and you see this video, when you click on it, and then you click on another one, and then you click on another one, and then before you know it, you're at the OnlyFans account. And then a lot of the time, as I said, you can have these accounts and there's no age verification process. So then this little 9-year-old is able to make an OnlyFans account, is able to see all this pornography. Then he's able to talk to this OnlyFans girl. He's able to build a relationship. It makes him feel... So that's a very mainstream narrative that is happening in our culture. But then imagine the guilt and shame that comes from that. And us as adults are not equipped to be able to sit down and have these conversations, where if we mitigated this and maybe when they're 4, 5, 6 years old, you're saying, hey, do you know that sometimes there's going to be good pictures on the internet and there's going to be bad pictures? And sometimes there's going to be pictures and they might make you feel a little funny in your tummy and they might not make you feel very good and they might make you feel a certain way. If you see anything, you come and you talk to me. You are not in trouble. You are not bad. But we want to talk about these things because there's sometimes things that are going to make us not feel very good when we're on the internet. Imagine you just mitigated a lifetime of confusion, of shame, of potential porn addiction, of exploiting women by purchasing OnlyFans, or even for young girls, of saying that, hey, do you know that there's going to be pictures, there's going to be things, and that's not who you are, that's not your identity. You don't have to dress that way. But if you see anything, a really fantastic example of this is I have a client in Redding, California, and her young daughter is like 14 years old, and she was at a public school, and she came home to her mum because she's able to have these really fantastic conversations with her, and Jenny keeps really open dialogue with her daughter. What are you following? Who do you like? What are you interested in? And so she came home one day and goes, Mum, you will never guess what is happening at school. The Bop House registrations are open. So all the girls at school are now storing up their content because they want to be able to, when they're 18, go and apply for Bop House. Now, a 14-year-old isn't going to have the foresight to know that in 4 years, Bop House isn't going to exist anymore. But what are they doing in the current moment? They're storing up their content. And so what does that actually mean? They're taking pornographic images and videos, and they were posting it on Instagram. And they had a little hashtag for their school. So if you knew what the hashtag was, you were able to find and search that hashtag and click on it, and you'd be able to find all of these underage girls' pornographic images because they were storing it up. So then when they were 18, they could go and apply to the Bop House. And so Jenny, though, because she was able to have these open conversations with her daughter, was able to be like, all right, hold on a second, sis. Like, what's going on here? Let's talk about this. And how does this make you feel? What are you consuming? And her sweet daughter, like, I was with her a couple months ago and she's like raging about it. She's like, look at that. Like, she's so passionate about it because she can understand how wrong this is, but it's because her mum has had the tools to be able to equip her young daughter to identify these things. And even when she's in an environment where all her peers are doing this, she's able to reject it. And I think that's really important because a lot of the times when I go to schools and I speak about this with young people and I really deep dive into agencies and how manufactured this is and how not real it is, they sit there and they go, oh, well, I don't want to be a part of that. Wait a minute, that actually, it loses, I use the word, it shatters the illusion. Because there's this illusion that this is cool, this is the pinnacle. And I think that even in so many things, honestly, listening to Walter talk is just really, I'm mulling on it, to be honest with you guys. That's why I like to sit down and kind of just do this, because then we get to, because so many of the things that he was talking about, I'm like, oh my gosh, it integrates so much. It's this broken identity and this, sexualized agenda across the whole paints itself as an option. It paints itself as a solution to the problem, but it's not. It's the thing that will cause the demise, and it's the thing that causes the destruction, and it's the thing that makes it worse. But the beautiful thing is like we have the answers. And so that's why I just, even language, I think was really, really interesting. This is me just ripping now, guys, sorry. But I'm just thinking, and I'm like, there's so many good takeaways and so many things that I think that are so important for us to like pinpoint and talk about, and even about like not affirming things. Language, OnlyFans content creator. What does that mean? Like, if you think about the language of that, I'm a content creator. Bro, what does that mean? It's like, no, you're doing porn, you're a porn star, and we're encouraging young girls to go do porn, and that's the dreams that they should have. Like, it's crazy. And so I think that like a huge takeaway, I really hope for you guys as well, and as we go along this week, is really understanding that like the language that we do use is so deceptive, and we do really need to be bold and stand for the truth and go, no, you're not an OnlyFans content creator, sis. You're a porn star. I had a friend actually tell me that that's the definitive thing for her. She was working in the massage parlors in Melbourne, and she was in such denial of it until she went to the doctors, and the doctors asked her what her job was. She's like, oh, I work in the massage parlors. And he goes, oh, so you're a sex worker? And she goes, oh. She goes, that's what hit me. And it was the truth of it, and that's when I quit. And so I think there's so much power in the truth and being so not mincing our words and what these things are. And because again, if you say to a young girl or a young guy, hey, yeah, that TikTok video that you're going to go watch of that girl, well, there's an entire industry that's doing it to allure you just so they can manipulate you to make money off you. Well, that doesn't sound enticing. What sounds enticing is that there's this OnlyFans girl that made this video and she wants to talk to me, or, you know, are you going to go create a bunch of porn and you're not going to earn a lot of money from doing it? It's going to be on the internet forever and it's going to destroy all of your job opportunities. Or, no, come do OnlyFans. Don't you want to be rich and famous and like hang out in mansions and have this elite lifestyle? So again, it's the same deception that we're seeing in all of these areas of this over-sexualization, this broken sexualization. And so, yeah, I just think that that's a really important thing. So this, the main takeaway of this was I just really wanted to introduce you guys to OnlyFans. I wanted you guys to understand what it was, get a foundation, get the context of it, understand the magnitude of why this is so important, why this matters, how it bleeds into this broken sexualization that we have in our world, this broken identity culture. And then, yeah, our next session will actually be me describing what was my role at the agency, specifically with social media, because I think that we all need to be really equipped in understanding the influence and the impact of it and exactly what was going on. We did start this session early, so we still have a little bit of time. Did you guys have any questions? Because this started 20 minutes early and we still have another 20 minutes until it's done. Or if you have anything, Michael. Oh, yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Or thoughts, feelings, feedback? This is like a little time to just chat. Yeah.
Would you happen to know why they called it OnlyFans? Is there a story behind that, or?
So it's because of this, it's a subscription-based platform, so it's only your fans that are subscribed to your platform. Yeah.
I'd never heard of it before, so I'm trying to fully understand it. So it starts off with just pictures, and then eventually they are led to go to places and actually do the act?
Yes and no. So on the actual OnlyFans platform, it's images and videos. So it's both. Yeah.
Okay. But are they actually physically going anywhere?
Like physically going anywhere in what sense?
Like, and doing the act,
Oh,
with
yes,
someone?
yes. So people will like meet up, have sex, video it, and put it online. Yep.
Okay.
Is there another question over here?
So at one point, my daughter was taking like or 200 or 500 pictures a day. So like, I was like, why is she taking so many pictures all the time? I don't know, this was back in 2017, but I guess my question is, do they have a way of ripping off these girls that are taking these pictures? You know what I mean? Like, she started working and she has a good job, but she's always broke. So I'm like wondering, where's her money going? You know, so...
Like, as in like agencies like exploiting these women specifically? Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So agencies will take anywhere from like 10 to 50% of girls' income. And so as well, if you're getting an income from OnlyFans, OnlyFans takes a cut. Then if the agency takes a cut and then you get taxed, realistically, you're not left with a lot of money. And that also depends on the integrity of the agency. A lot of agencies will fully maintain the girls' accounts and they will give them an allowance from them. So yeah, there is a lot of opportunities to be exploited if you're doing something like OnlyFans.
What about taking money from your job, you know, another job, you know, a regular job that a girl has? And do they have to pay these agencies? I'm confused.
In what way would you like the clarity?
Like her salary.
Yep. In a generalized job? I wouldn't be able to comment, I guess, unfortunately. I wouldn't know if there's a regular job. You would hope that people have good morals and values. But if we're talking about the sex industry specifically, of course, there's always so much exploitation that's happening within that. But regular jobs, like if you worked at like a retail store or something, you would assume that those things wouldn't be happening.
I think part of her question is, would her daughter be paying OnlyFans her salary to be on there?
No. Okay. No. You sign up for free. Sorry. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. I didn't understand. Yeah, no. You don't pay to be on OnlyFans. You sign up to OnlyFans. Then what happens is subscribers will pay for the content that's on OnlyFans. So OnlyFans takes a clip of the money that you make off the content that gets put on there that people pay for. So it's a subscription-based platform. Does that make sense?
Hi. So we're seeing this wave of ex-LGBTQ kind of happening, and I know there's the former content creator, porn star, Nala Ray, I believe is her name, and we're starting to see more people speak up about that. You're probably only the second person who's spoken out against OnlyFans that I've heard of. Do you think that there's going to be this wave happening, this revolution where people are leaving OnlyFans and speaking out against it?
That's a really good question.
And how is that going to happen? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a fantastic question. Nala and I get constant messages from women that they want to leave. But here's the kicker, is if you think about this, so statistically speaking, people think, as I think you mentioned, that you think you can make a lot of money on OnlyFans, but the average wage of an OnlyFans girl is $180 a month. So you think exactly that you're going to jump onto this platform, you're going to make all this money. So if we have an inundation, which we currently do, of women and young girls that are jumping on OnlyFans, so they think that they're going to make all this money, they're putting their identity and their value in how hot they are, they're jumping on, they're making little to no money. Well, how embarrassing is that for them in their minds? Oh my gosh, I'm told that my only value and worth is how hot I am, so I jump on this platform, I'm supposed to make all this money, I make none. Now all of my porn is on the internet. I'm not going to go talk about that. That's so embarrassing. And that's more of a common narrative that I hear than anything, is that a lot of girls jump on, do this, don't make a lot of money, they want it to go away, and they don't want to speak about it ever again. But unfortunately, there's consequences to that. So I don't know is the answer, because I think, unfortunately, that there's a huge shame element.
So follow-up question would be, what do you think that it's going to take for those who make the millions on OnlyFans to leave? Maybe based off conversations you've had with Nala, I'm not sure. But
Yeah, I think that that's what it is. I think it's the reckless vulnerability piece, to be honest with you. I think that it is like that young girl who came up to me and said, how do you deal with the shame of what you do? And I say, I don't have shame. And I think that the true answer is Jesus. Because honestly, if we can be so reckless in what I love to say is breaking off a piece of my heart in reckless vulnerability in the hopes that it heals something within yours, that you can then go, oh my gosh, I'm so healed, I'm so whole. This is what I did, and it was crazy, because I have no shame to say that I used to sell girls. I have no shame in saying that, because it glorifies the Lord and it shows his redemptive work. So I think that that's what needs to be the narrative, is this redemption piece. And so that's a big part of Nala's story, is she doesn't have shame to be able to talk about this, because she goes, guys, I used to literally do OnlyFans. I was the biggest OnlyFans star in the country, and it's not it. And I don't care if you can still see my porn, because Jesus says that I'm saved and redeemed. And so I think we need more bold voices in all elements to talk about this, and that's how we'll really see that cultural shift. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you getting any kind of negative feedback for the work that you do now?
I had the agency try to sue me in the beginning, so that was wild. And then, yeah, a little bit. Like, I do, but the honest answer is God protects me from a lot of it. He protects me from so much of the craziness. It either goes into like the requests, or like I just don't see it. So I'm sure that there is, but I'm just really protected.
Victoria, could you share with them the story of you coming here? What took place at customs?
Oh my gosh, yes! Okay, talking about protection from the Lord. Okay, this is how much Jesus like cares about this. Like, he cares about everything, but he really cares about this. So this is cool. Thanks, Jerry. Fun little story for you guys. Talking about how wild it was to get here, and talk about like resistance. It has been crazy. But anyways, I arrived in LAX yesterday, and I've just gotten off like a 13-hour flight. I'm exhausted, and I have to go catch my connecting flight to get here, right? And so I'm in customs. I go up to the little custom things. I don't know if any of you guys have ever to do it, but it's like the most intimidating thing ever. You're nodding. It's not fun, is it? It's so intimidating. Oh, yeah, so you would know. So you go up to customs, you tell them why you're here and all the different things, and the guy looks at me and he goes, he goes, you were here for 3 months at the start of the year. And I was like, yeah, and on the visa I'm on, I'm allowed to. He's like, oh, that's a long time. He goes, what are you doing here now? And I was like, and I explained what I'm here. One of my friends, he's having a conference. He invited me to come out and to speak. And he goes, He goes, can you come with me? And so I have to go to the back room. Oh my gosh, guys. So I'm there for hours, right? I'm literally sitting there. They don't tell me anything. They take my passport off me. They don't let me use my phone. And I'm sitting in this back room in LAX in the immigration office. And I'm waiting for almost like 2 hours. They finally call me up, and they're like, we want to know, why are you here? What are you doing? What is your mission? Like, what are these trips about? Because I've been to America. This is my 3rd time this year. And so I have to intricately explain to them all of the details of my trips, why I've been here, what I'm doing. So that means that I literally get to explain that I got radically saved by Jesus.
Come on now.
Like, I get to tell this immigration guy I used to sell porn, and then I just couldn't stop talking about it. And and now America cares about this story, so I'm in America, and he's sitting there. And he goes, so how did you find Jesus? He's getting so into the story. And so I get to tell him the testimony of how I found the Lord and how I ended up at church and all these different things and what I'm doing now and why I'm here. And he goes, okay. And he's like, all right, makes me sit back down for a couple of hours. He calls me up again and he goes, technically, there's an issue with your visa and you're not allowed in the country. And I was like, okay. And I was like, so what am I supposed to do? He's like, you need to fly back home to Australia. You need to fix your visa and you need to come back. And I was like, like what? I was like, do I have any other options? Because he knows that I'm supposed to speak, I'm supposed to do all these things. And he goes, okay, let me go talk to my supervisor. I was like, okay. So I go sit back down. It's 4 hours at this point. I've missed my connecting flight. I'm so scared. And I'm just like, God, what am I supposed to do? And I just kept hearing, do you trust me? Anyways, so he calls me back over a couple minutes later and he goes, I didn't speak with my supervisor. I know my supervisor's not going to let you in. But, and he pulls out his phone and his phone case says Jesus on the back. And he goes, but I just recently became a Christian and I really care about the mission and I really care about what you're doing and I don't have the heart to not let you do this.
Hallelujah.
So I'm going to let you in the country. And he goes, just make sure you fix these issues before you come back in next time. Isn't that so cool? So I almost got, anyways, yeah. Isn't that wild? That's why the power of your testimony, I could go on about that forever. Thanks, Jerry. But yeah, isn't that so cool? Yeah, but any other questions or anything? Because, yeah, cool.
Hang on 1 second. Okay.
Okay, well, I'm just going to have to repeat it then on...
Okay, well, never mind. You can tell it another time.
I love telling... No, I'm just going to have to repeat it
It's
on
okay.
Friday.
Tell.
So if you guys are here on Friday, you'll just hear it for a second time. Yeah, so... Oh, okay.
So the young girls who are, in this, what is it, OnlyFans, how can they get out? Is shame what's keeping them in it? I mean, once they realize they're not going to make the money that they thought they were going to, how can they get out?
Yeah, it's a really fantastic question, and it's one that honestly burdens me because I get messages, and as Spencer mentioned, Nala as well. Nala was this huge OnlyFans girl, and so we've connected, and that's what we're dreaming about. And we're actually trying to figure out what are the solutions, because realistically, there's so many elements to this of women need to come out of this industry, but there's consequences. Like a story that I tell often is one of my friends who worked at the agency left OnlyFans, started a job in like a completely different industry. She went into wedding photography. And a year after doing OnlyFans and building her new business, and she did amazing, she started crushing it, doing really well, one of her ex-subscribers sent all of her pornography to all of her brand new clients. What do you do with that? And so I think that what needs to happen is there needs to be I call it, do you guys remember the yellow pages or like the white pages? And it was like those big phone books and it had like all the businesses and stuff in them. That's what we need. We need like a white pages of resources for these girls because they're so lied to by the world that this is all you can do and all they can think is this their job. So how can we have a safety net for them to say, hey sis, you can come out, we're gonna get you training, we're gonna get you a job, we're gonna help you, we're gonna be able to get you the therapy that you need. And how can we bring so many organizations together? Because we can't do it ourselves. That's why truly we need to unite as a body. And so these are the things that we're dreaming of in total transparency of how can we facilitate that? Because we do believe there's going to be an inundation of girls that leave this industry, but we need to do something to help them and support them. So that's kind of the ideas that we're dreaming about right now of what we can do. Yeah. Yeah. Did you want me to tell? Are you guys interested? I can tell you the story, and then if you hear it again on Friday, you hear it again. But yeah. Yeah.
Okay, when someone asked the question back here earlier, I think your response was yeah, they meet up, they video it, and they put it out there. So is this a service or something? Is it just not someone posting pictures of themselves, or is there are people meeting up, filming it, and then they're posting it to the account for people to watch? Is that what that is?
Totally. So you'll hear a lot of, there's extremes, like this girl named Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips. So Bonnie Blue will actually advertise and she will say, come to a studio, and she will get thousands of men to come to a studio and she will live film herself having sex with thousands of men and put it on her OnlyFans. There was girls, they'll go on dating apps and they'll message guys and be like, hey, do you want to come sleep with me for my OnlyFans? Lily Phillips was going to our version of Spring Break, it's called Schoolies, and she was targeting fresh 18-year-olds and filming herself with fresh 18-year-old young boys on OnlyFans. Yeah. 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 Any other questions? Or we can jump into a hopeful story. Cool. Cool. Okay, well, I'll give you the succinct version of it. And that will bring us actually to 2:45. Cool. So basically, what happened for me is I'm working at this agency. And for like the first 6 months, I'm doing all the marketing. So my role was again to make girls go viral. So I was seeing all the front end of everything, and I actually hadn't seen the back end. And I kind of mentioned that my lens of what OnlyFans was is I didn't really know. I was like, I think it's positive, it's liberating. Again, you can see culturally how much we're kind of inundated with a message of what OnlyFans is. So I was like, oh, I have friends that do OnlyFans and they seem rich and they seem happy, and you know, we're doing all of this marketing and we're so desensitized to it, so we don't think that it's bad. But what had happened was, as we kind of went on in the agency, if you're impersonating a person, because that's what we're doing, right? We're pretending to be the girl. If you were talking to the girl on social media, but then you're talking to the girl on OnlyFans, and us as management aren't communicating, well, then if you're the subscriber, you're starting to see holes in the story, right? So we had noticed that more subscribers were getting suspicious and being like, wait a minute, I talked to you here and I talked to you there and something's not adding up. So we were like, okay, we need to then on the back end change the business structure. So we went from me doing all of the marketing and the OnlyFans manager doing all of the OnlyFans managing to splitting the girls in half. And then you would do the full life cycle of OnlyFans and marketing. So that's when I actually jumped onto the back end of OnlyFans and I actually started to see what we were doing. And I was like, oh, like this is what we're promoting, this is what we're selling. And I've never even been exposed to pornography, like I've never consumed porn. So I'm seeing porn for the first time and it's girls that I know. So it's girls that I built relationships with. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is like, I'm watching their acts. And I'm going, that girl's so kind, that girl's so funny, that girl's hilarious. Like I still think of them, I visualize them when I say this every time. That girl's hilarious, she's generous. And this is what we're telling her to do. And so I'm really struggling. And at this point as well, like the drugs are out of control, the alcohol's out of control. You can imagine the lifestyle that we're living, the parties that we're throwing and all the different things. And I'm like asking questions to people at the agency, what do you think about what we're doing? And people like, it's like a safe injecting heroin room. People need a safe place to do drugs. We give people a safe place to do porn. Just all the answers you can think of. And I just wasn't satisfied with them. I was like, no, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. And so I was like, okay, I need to do something. Because I was like, the drugs aren't working, the alcohol's not working, I don't feel good. And like, I'm crying every day. I can't open up my laptop. Like, I can't do my job. I'm really deeply disturbed by this. But the world's telling me that I'm the problem. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe if I do like a big enough act of good, it'll offset all the bad that I'm doing, right? And then I was like, okay, well, what's like an extreme enough act of good? And I was like, oh, I'll go like overseas and help refugees. That seems like extreme enough. And so I had this idea and I was building a medicinal cannabis company at the time as well. So I was like, okay, sick. I'll go overseas. I'll help a bunch of refugees. By the time I come back, the cannabis company will be up and running. And then I don't have to work at the OnlyFans agency anymore. Like, I'm so smart. So, thank you. I thought I was a genius. And that'll like, I don't know, karma it all out, right? So I'm 25 at this point. I'm 27 now. So as Michael said, I've been saved just on 2 years. But I was like, oh, I went to a church when I was like a little kid. And I remember like stopped going to church when I was like 8 or 9 years old. But we had this experience at church. So I Googled that church and I remembered that they had a refugee program. So I Googled the church and then I signed up for the refugee program. It was just like an outreach thing. But I had no idea. So I signed up for this refugee program. And then this is where it gets really cool. So I found out months later that application to the outreach department never went to the outreach department. But instead, what happened is the young adults pastor got an email and I got to see it. And it said, here's, Victoria wants to reach out to the church. Here's her number, call her. And so I get a call one day from this random young adults pastor. She goes, hey, I heard you want to come down to church. Would you like to come down this Thursday? And I thought it was like the vetting process of like what Christians did. Like I didn't really know, but I was like, sure, okay. So like I come down to church on a Thursday and like I remember sitting in my car at the front and like I remember having voices screaming, you can't go in there. You're such a bad person. Like you'll literally burst into flames. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like so I'm wrestling with myself. I'm like, I can't go in this church. Like, and I just remember hearing a voice saying there's someone in there and they're waiting for you. So you need to go in. So I go into this church and I start word vomiting to hours. And I think you guys can get a little bit of my personality by now. So I imagine this sweet young adults pastor, and I'm like, I don't know, I kind of sell porn and everyone tells me that it's good, but I feel like it's bad and I don't really know what to do. And like for hours, like 3 hours. So I am just word vomiting to this sweet woman. And what Walter said as well about conversations, they change people's lives. It's about stopping for the one, because she goes, I really think you should come to church this weekend. I think you'll really resonate with the guest speaker. So I was like, all right. So I rock up to church on a Sunday, and the guest speaker in church is talking about OnlyFans. It is talking about this over-sexualized culture. And she's talking about how she goes around the country and she goes to all different schools and she sees what is happening to our youth. And she said this line, and I didn't understand it at the time, but it clicked within me. And she goes, Christians are supposed to be the salt and the light of the earth, and they have failed, and we are destroying the next generation. And it just did something in my heart. And it was like a similar setup to I'm like in the balcony, I'm at the back. But when she finished speaking, I literally just ran down to her and I went up to her and I said, hi, my name's Victoria and I work for an OnlyFans agency and I hate myself. And she was so beautiful. She didn't do what I thought Christians would do. You're going to burn in hell, like all the different things. She literally goes, would you like to have lunch with me? And she had lunch with me. And for hours, she answered my questions. And I said, isn't this positive? Isn't this liberating? You know, aren't we doing ethical porn and all the different things? And she just explained the truth. And so literally that was on a Sunday. And by the Friday, I quit the agency. I walked away from everything. 8 weeks later, I'm sober, I'm baptized, and I've been talking about this story literally every single day since then. Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. But yeah, praise the Lord. It's been the best journey. But yeah, thank you guys. Did we have anything else? Or basically it's 2:45.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we have 1 more minute. Can you talk about the mission trip?
Can I talk about the what?
The mission trip.
My mission trip that I never went on.
Right. The one to appease your guilt.
Oh, I know, literally. And karma doesn't work, guys. It's not real. But yeah, we spoke about that, how I thought that if I went and did like a missions trip that it would help. But I don't know, maybe you missed it. Yeah. Michael loves that part of the story. But yeah, so that's everything.